Hi, Andrea.
Good morning, Dan. Hi to all the guys. How are you?
We're great. We're great.
I have to cue the Twilight Zone music very quickly. I was talking about you yesterday because it was my son's 16th birthday. How the heck did that happen?
Wow.
I don't know if you remember this, but he was born at the Super Bowl in 2000. I was on the radio with you. He was Baby Steinberg. He had no name. And you said, come on, Andrea, you're the one always breaking news. We want to now break news about you. What's his name? I said, Dan, we don't have a name. You said, all right, let's just pick a name. Let's pick a name from one of the players at the Super Bowl. How about Azahir Hakeem Steinberg? So anytime if my son ever even questions his name, I say, but Dan Patrick could have named you, and look who you could have been.
That would have been a cool name.
We were just talking about this yesterday.
Yeah, there you go. Glad to be in your thoughts there. Well, you're in my thoughts today after your report on HBO's Real Sports. How would you summarize, if someone didn't see the segment, tell them why they should?
They should see it because the use of marijuana, particularly in the National Football League, could be for medicinal purposes, as you've talked about. We've got players. One player said that he wanted to use it in place. A number of players told us they wanted to use it as an alternative to opiates, which are addictive, for pain management. I've talked to NFL head coaches, and they said, hey, if I have a choice of my player going out after the game to relax, and he goes to a bar and has a couple drinks and might get behind a car, that's a problem, as opposed to if he wants to go home in the privacy of his own home, smoke some pot, munch out a little bit. I'd much prefer that. So there's the issue of, can marijuana, especially in such a violent game as the NFL, be used as an alternative for pain medication? We presented this to the NFL, and they basically said, nope, they shouldn't use marijuana. If pain management is an issue, his team doctors can assist him with that. And so that's one of the issues. We then traveled to Israel, where the leading medical marijuana researcher in the world has been working for the past several decades. And he showed us experiments that he's done that have been published in 3 major medical journals, which basically show that using cannabis-like compounds and given to injured mice can help their brains recover quicker when they are concussed and when they have traumatic brain injury, a 50% chance lowering of damage. So those were 2 of the main things that we showed. And look, Dan, we're not taking a stand here, a political stand. We're just trying to present points of view that are out there. And as usual, as we do on Real Sports, let the audience make the decisions for themselves.
What would it take for the NFL to get on board with this?
Well, the NFL has, as you guys were talking about in the segment leading up to it, they did tie the HGH testing to changing the amount of marijuana that needs to be found in your system to test positive. But let me just put it to you this way. You used to have, according to the NFL, 15 nanograms per milliliter to test positive for marijuana. They raised it to a whopping 35. I'm being facetious. WADA, World Anti-Doping, is 150. So basically what the NFLPA was concerned about was secondhand smoke. They didn't want, if a guy was in a car and he was there and somebody else was smoking, they didn't want them to be testing positive because of secondhand smoke. But what they really did is raising it so little that it's not making a difference. If you get caught for smoking marijuana in the National Football League, you are going to be disciplined and penalized. It's that simple. They don't want players to do it.
But don't you think that they've gone after marijuana far more stringently than they have HGH?
Yeah, I mean, look, some guys just like to smoke. I mean, you're always going to have that. But I think that is this a performance-enhancing drug? No. If you want to be really cynical, you could say it's performance-enhancing because it may get them on the field quicker if indeed it's helping them recover. But no, I don't think so. But bottom line is, in this country, it is illegal, according to the federal government, no matter how many states have rendered it legal. I will tell you one other thing that we did is, so we went out to a game. Boy, I got to tell you, man, it's been a long time since I've been in tailgate areas. I mean, a long, long time. And, you're used to seeing people drinking and barbecuing and this and that. Well, you walk literally, you can see it from the stadium. You walk up a little hill, barely a hill, one block, cross the main street, and there is a major, marijuana distributorship, and you can buy it.
And this is in Denver.
And then they walk down, and then they smoke it, and, we're sitting there looking at all these fans, and they're smoking openly. And I actually spoke to a cop who was there, and I said, well, what do you do about this? And he goes, you know what? We can't even begin to stop. If they don't take it in the stadium, you can't have it in the stadium, but in the tailgate area, absolutely. And then, Dan, I did something I never thought I would do. I went to a club where it's a just smoking pot club, a private cannabis club, and that was crazy because every time the Broncos scored, they gave free bong hits. And you're not allowed to drink. All you could do is smoke pot. And guess what? Halftime, they bring in hundreds of boxes of pizza. I can't make this up.
Is that Papa John's? Papa John's
pizza? You wouldn't believe it.
Papa John's pizzas?
I can't say what the type was.
Okay.
I can't say what the type was, but they had plenty of it, believe me.
Okay. How investigative were you with the bong hits?
What do you mean?
How
Did I
serious?
try it?
Yes.
No, but let me tell you something. You're gonna. So not only were we worried about secondhand smoke, but I was. This is what a nerd I am. Oh God, this is gonna blow up on Twitter. I made my producer go, and we had to buy air freshener because we were getting on a plane. I'm gonna smell like pot as I walk to the airport. So we're sitting there spraying all of our clothes and stuff like this. But no. But let me tell you. No, I'll tell you. You totally feel buzzed when you come out of a place like that. I mean, Dan, it's 4 or 5 small rooms, these little private cannabis clubs. And by the way, the owner told me that he's got quite a few clients who are professional athletes, and they are far from being all Denver Broncos players from all over the country because they can't believe that they can come in and they can smoke there. Same as fans. We're in this place across from the stadium, and Baltimore Ravens fans walk in, and wow, you can really buy this here? It's crazy how available it is. And then looming are the signs for the alcohol beverages that you can drink legally in the stadium. It's a pretty crazy dichotomy, Dan.
Andrea Kremer, HBO Real Sports correspondent, joining us, Dan Patrick Show. Yeah, is this an advantage for the Broncos or the Seahawks where players as a free agent? And I'm being serious. If they know that it's there. Granted, your league is going to test you for it. I don't know how often they test you, but if I can go and play for the Seahawks or I could go play for the Broncos, unless there's a team in Amsterdam, is this a home field advantage there?
I have heard that argument made. Let's just put it that way. I've heard that argument made. If that's something that you want to do, but I believe me, I would go out on a limb and venture to say that. Those players, and again, this is not just the NFL, but this report happened to center on the NFL. But players are if they want to smoke, they're going to be smoking in all NFL cities and all NBA cities, and
yeah.
you name it. But yes, it would be interesting to see if it is a home field advantage in recruiting.
Are you going to the Super Bowl?
Yes, sir. I will be there.
Are you doing a story for HBO?
I'm working for the NFL Network. I'm hosting some shows, and I am working on an interesting 4-part series called Inside the Mind of the Elite Quarterback, which is going to be airing on throughout the week, and then on the NFL Network pregame show that your buddy Rich Eisen, who's about to come on. How's that shameless plug for your show? I'm an all-purpose player for you.
Look at you.
But,
Look at you.
I'm working on that, and then I'm actually working on something else for Real Sports, something separate.
I'm curious. I mentioned this on Jimmy Fallon when I was on Monday night, and that is I compared Letterman and Leno to Brady and Manning, and I compared Jimmy Fallon to Cam Newton. He's sort of the new guy, different, young, fresh. Not that he's polarizing, but if we were doing quarterbacks like with late night host, so who's Colbert, who's Jimmy Kimmel, who's Conan? I mean, Conan, I said Andy Dalton, but
just because of the look, right?
Yes, absolutely. But
right.
if I said like who's Aaron Rodgers? Who's Big Ben? Drew Brees?
Well, that's a good one. That's a really, really good one. I mean, if we're going by personality, if we're going by I mean, you're comparing Dalton and Conan just by the way they look. I don't think any of them are going to approximate Big Ben. That's for sure. Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. Aaron Rodgers might be Colbert.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Oh, is that what you thought too? Yeah.
Yeah.
He sort of seems, Colbertian. That he could be. Let's see. Fallon. You thought that Cam was Fallon?
Yeah, because he's dancing and.
What about Russell? Oh, wait. There you go. If Cam is Fallon, then Russell must be Kimmel. Right?
Okay. All right. Yeah,
I mean, there you go. There's there's always, as you say, there's Manning and Brady. There's always the two together. So
and then I put
Johnny
Carson is Joe Montana.
Yes, Joe. All right, but here's one for you.
Okay.
Who's Manziel?
Well, they don't have a job if they're Manziel.
Right. Well, I'm asking who's flamed out.
Chevy Chase.
Okay. That could be a good
one. He lasted 6 weeks.
It's always, it's both sides of this, right? It's both sides of this. Who else is up and coming?
Who's Magic Johnson? Ryan Leaf?
Ooh, who's Magic Johnson and Ryan Leaf?
Well, Magic didn't last long in his show.
Oh, you're talking about as a talk show host. I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good analogy.
There.
Yes, because we're certainly not comparing them physically.
No. Or their talents.
Yes. No question about that.
All right.
So who would be so? All right. So who's Kobe?
No. We're not bringing in Kobe.
Well, you just mentioned Magic, but you were talking about Magic as a talk show.
As a talk show
host.
So stop this.
Right.
All right. I have to go.
I'll miss you so. It's great to talk to you.
Great report.
Hi to all the guys, especially my pal Todd. Let's give Todd some grief. Oh, Andrea's making Todd blush.
But what do you think when Todd does his Andrea Kremer impersonation?
Oh, does he?
Yes.
Oh, he does everybody.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if I've ever heard it, but listen, if I've been impersonated, then that's a good thing.
Okay.
I feel like I've arrived after all these years.
Okay.
Todd's imitating me.
I'm gonna take a break and have Fritzy call you back, and I want you to hear Fritzy do the Andrea Kremer impersonation. Okay.
All right, but he could also do the impersonation where my eyes look like they're bugging out of my head in a frightening way.
All right, we'll continue. Fritzy does his Andrea Kremer impersonation to
all right,
Andrea
thanks
Kremer.
for having me on, guys. Always a pleasure.